Hey everyone, good morning. So today we're going to do a little tour of plot number 1. This is the first plot which we started. We started this plot last March. So back there is where we live, and this is the plot next to where my mother-in-law lives. We live in a little side house there with my girlfriend. So we started this plot on last year March. Here we had our main crops, everything. We started here, so we used to just open the garage door. I don't know if you can see that there. So there's a garage door there. We would just open that, put here a little stand, and we would cut some things. And when people came in, we had that thing where people saw us directly harvest from the ground and wash their vegetables, so there was a great integration there. So we would like to do that again probably as we go on the other plot. And we have to have our washing station set up first. We'll do a little video about that also. So right now here what we did is we transformed this into the chicken system. The idea at the beginning was to have the chickens here first and then move them to the other half of the plot where there's more trees during the summer, and have a crop here. We're gonna see if we do that or not, because it depends on a lot of things. First of all, how much work the main crop plot gives us. Also, if we can buy another electric fence for the chickens, because this one broke down and I wasn't able to fix it and I never got it to work again. And I want to buy a new one like Richard Perkins. Okay, so we have Richard Perkins style nest boxes. Right now they're not all laying in there because since the net is broken, they can get out, and it's crazy how they can just squeeze through those little holes. So we want to buy a new one with more. There's one that has less spacing between posts, and it has more rigid posts so it doesn't bend, and I don't really want to buy a new one if I know it's gonna burn out in less than a year. Right now what we're trying to do is make smart investments, even if it costs a little bit more, have something that's going to last for the longer run, and if we want to expand we can take with us. So all the things that we can invest that I know that will last and that we can take with us for our expansion, so much better. So okay, so right now what we're doing here is we have our compost facility. Okay, so we have where they nest. This is John Saskovich style chicken coop. We just modified it, so we put some perches in there. So here we can probably feed 50 chickens. Right now we have 22, so the idea is to get some more, but it also depends if we get if we can get the fencing. If we can't get the fencing, 50 chickens running all around the plot is kind of crazy. So right now we're producing the compost here, and the main thing about the compost, I've always liked what they're doing in Vermont compost. So here, this is the first pile we started. We got a 15 cubic meter truck come here and throw all of this. This is chipped material from gardens and all of that, and we turn them around. So this is a second pile. I don't know if the camera picks it up, but what we do is the truck comes in, lays it down. The first days it heats up really fast, so after 2 or 3 days we'll just go ahead and split it in half. So we extend it and then we pile it up. So right now what we're doing is, yesterday we piled it up. We made the first pile here pretty high, so it has a good mass volume, so it heats up and starts the decomposition. And after a week we'll do the same process. One day we'll extend it just because if you try to extend and repile a 15 cubic meter pile, it doesn't take that long though, but it's more exercise than we need. We have enough work in the gardens right now. So so we're doing this type of compost. I personally like it. First of all, we do it because we don't have the money right now to go and buy compost, even though I know it's probably the best thing you can do if you start to consider the labor cost that we're putting it in. But personally, I like the compost we're having. I think it's pretty good, pretty good. It's a nice dark compost, and I like also the concept, like I said before, like Vermont compost is doing, to have an integration of life into the compost, and it's something that I like doing. I mean, people are already asking me if I have excess compost, so it's something that maybe in the future I would really like to expand. Not do it myself because I know I don't have any more hours to do it, but I think it's a good enterprise to have chickens and create some compost, maybe buy a little tractor to turn it, and someone can do that in less than an hour of work every morning and then come work in the gardens. So I think it's a pretty nice enterprise. If you think that you buy the cubic meter for 10 euros and you can then sell it in the market for around 90 euros, it's not bad. I have the numbers, but I don't have them on the top of my head. I think it's a good enterprise, and besides that, if you have 50 chickens or so, it's also a nice crop, if you want to call it a crop, for customers to come buy the eggs and then they come buy the vegetables, or so they have been working like that so far. And so let's keep this short. And there's a lot of ideas and a lot of things that are going on here. So the main idea is to create this compost, and if we do get a fence, maybe what we'll do is move the chickens to the other half around April and try to maybe get a crop here. I think we could get a really good crop if we can maintain the chickens away. If not, I'm not gonna plant anything that I'm gonna be wasting my time and have one chicken or two or three get out one day and just hit the whole thing. But maybe we can plant some corn, some squash, some of those things that don't really take that much looking after, and can add some volume and some, again, I like to play with those crops that have a multi-purpose, that gives us some time to harvest, that we don't have to harvest right away. Corn, for example, if it goes past the point where you have to harvest it for market, I'd really like to start reducing the amount of feed we buy from outside. Again, another thing that I've heard from the No-Till podcast, I think, or the Farmer to Farmer podcast, that it's ridiculous how farms went from producing food to buying food. I know sometimes it's not economically viable, but I think we have to start working. I mean, that's a nice experiment I like to do. Start working on systems to make that shift, and since we are in small scale, start experimenting in these things to see if we can make it viable even in small scale. Right now, if you start to calculate the value that we're putting in the garden through all this compost, I mean, right here in a month we produced, if you want to say that maybe 15 cubic meters reduce a little bit once you compost it, let's say you got 10 cubic meters, so in a month we made 900 euros of value. I mean, it's not cash going in your pocket, but it sure is value going into the garden. At least that's the way I look at it and the way that I convince myself. So so this went a little bit longer, but it's something that I really like doing, and that I really like the product that we're getting, and it's a little nice extra. We love the eggs, and the chickens are fun. Nobody's complaining so far. So so this is our chicken system. Remember to give us a like, Thank you for watching this whole video, first of all, if you watched up to this point. And remember to give us a like on our Market Gardeners Scholarship. And one last thing, right now we're doing these videos in English, mainly because of the Market Gardener Scholarship. But if I do continue doing this, I'll probably do it in Spanish. I think there's a lot of content, great content out there in English. You have JM, you have Carter Stone, you have Richard Perkins. There's a ton of people doing this in English, but I don't know if maybe it's because I also look for it in English, but there's few people doing this in Spanish. So that's another thing that I would also like to do. Projects add up quick. So another thing I would like to do if I have time and I see that I'm capable of following these things, it's doing some videos in Spanish to get this out there to the other half of the world at least. So okay, thank you again. Give us a like, comment, tell us what you think about all of this. Tell us if you think we're crazy for working too much, and if you think how we can figure out some way we can do this better. I'll be happy to know it and try it. Thank you.